Hey everyone, welcome back to Cape Fear Calling. We are back in Wilmington this week. And today we are talking about the morning where you just need to get going, grab something, be on your way. You're late for work or you don't have time for this, or you have a meeting to make and you can't go and sit down and have a good breakfast. Well, we are going to go to Savorez. Now, there is Savorez, the restaurant, but this Savorez is another location and it's attached to Bespoke Coffee and Dry Goods Roastery. This Savorez is specifically for those of you who are in a rush but want something super, super satiating to go with your coffee and be right out the door. We're talking burritos, we're talking pastries, we're talking egg bites, and we're going to be doing all that with Chef Sam and I. Here we go. All right, welcome back to Cape Fear Calling. We're here at Savorez, the other location that's next to Bespoke, and I wanted to lead with this because it was so interesting. Mess Hall. Our episode with Mess Hall came out, and at the end of the episodes, we always say, "Hey, where's somewhere you like to go?" And he said here. And Beautiful. His name's Sam. Do you guys know each other?
No, not at all.
So Sam from Mess Hall is like, this is his spot. Like, well, the other one. And then we're like, told him about this one, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna go there soon. So welcome to the show, Sam. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, this is Ann, and I'm Rich, obviously, and let's talk about what we got going on here. This is a new location, heart of downtown, and maybe we should actually lead with the original Savorez.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Talk to us about that and talk about how this all happened for you.
So, let's see. You want me to start with original Savorez? Let's see. So, 7 years ago, I was kind of at a crossroads, basically. I was the executive chef at Ceviche's at the time, and
in Wrightsville, right?
Correct, right before Isle Beach. And, it was time for me to move on from there, and I had a tough decision to make. Do I want to go be an executive chef somewhere else? Do I want to step down to being a sous chef again? Or do I really want to take that plunge and go into ownership and work for myself?
Yeah.
And, at the time, I had a big crew with me in terms of kitchen staff and front of the house staff, and decided, hey, man, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why work for anybody else? And so me and my best friend, Aldo, who was my executive sous chef, we were looking around at locations, and one day he found Flying Pie Bakery. He said, hey, man, Flying Pie's up for grabs. I said, man, I don't want that little brick building. I had driven past it 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, you really want to come in and check it out? And I was like, okay. And once I stepped in the building, the wheels really started to spin. I saw what the layout was, and it was just a great opportunity, great location for a number of reasons. And so, we signed the lease, and they gave us about 60 days to get it up and running, which was it's a short amount of time typically for a restaurant, but we did it. And
just like closing on anything in 60 days plus starting a restaurant.
Right. Well, we were really lucky. The previous owners of Flying Pie Bakery had left a great shell. The structure was intact, the electricity, the plumbing, all that was done.
Yeah.
Really, we just had to do aesthetic changes up front, bring in our own kitchen equipment, and kind of change the layout how we wanted.
Yeah.
And that's how we were able to do it so quickly.
Sweet.
And so we started in 2017, and been a journey since then, you know what I mean? The first couple of years were great. We had a little hiccup with Hurricane Florence, and we rebounded strongly from that. And then obviously COVID came in and kind of wrecked everybody for a little while, still is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been there since 2017, and then about April last year, a good friend of mine, Paul Connor, he came to me and he said, hey man, I might have something for you if you're interested in a second location, second concept. What do you know about Bespoke? And Bespoke opened up a little bit before Savorez did, and I had met Cheeto, the owner, several times around the opening days, and we crossed paths every now and again. But Paul was the one that kind of linked us back up and reintroduced us to each other. And
were you looking for another location?
We had been, actually. We had actually tried really, really hard to get a second location back in 2020. And thankfully we didn't get it, because a month later is when COVID came and shut everything down. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise, because having to navigate COVID while trying to open another restaurant, that would have been just hard. So COVID obviously put kind of everything on the back burner, but my eyes were open. I was looking around, and this spot kind of opened up, and it was just kind of a perfect opportunity for us.
So this one, though, it's not a carbon copy of Savorez. This one has kind of a different focus.
No, so this is a very, very, very different concept from Savorez. You know, Savorez is a very chef-driven, kind of southern take on Latin cuisine.
Yep.
And there's a little bit of that influence here, but this location is all about convenience and providing the community, you know, a nice just grab-and-go breakfast. The thought process is, you know, people come to Bespoke every day to get their coffee, and then they go elsewhere for food, whether they bring it from home or they stop in somewhere else. And a big part of it was just where can you go to get a good breakfast burrito, you know? Years ago, I worked for the K38 company and Josh Vach, and he owned Tower 7 down at Riceville Beach, and attached to Tower 7 was Cafe Del Mar, which was a little coffee shop, and they did breakfast burritos to go. Very, very, pretty much the exact same as we do here. It's really where I drew a lot of inspiration from. But I remember being young at the beach, man, and you know, you go in early, get a coffee and a burrito, and you got your fuel for the day. Really, the key was when about 11 or 12, when they started stopping the business breakfast, the surfers all knew you could go in and probably get a free burrito because they're going to have to throw them out anyway. So it really reminded me a lot of those days, and I was like, yeah, let's do that for downtown, you know?
So when you are going to kind of partner, so to speak, with, you know, the coffee shop next door that's kind of established here, and yes, your restaurant's established down there, like, how do you know if that's going to go well, like a partnership, you know, like, how do you kind of test the waters?
You don't. You know, everybody kind of has to take a gamble there. You know, everybody's all friendly until it gets time to do business, you know, and then you got to be hard. But Chris understands, and I understand, and I think we are both very much on the same page, and it just felt natural to me. We have very, very similar mindsets, and we knew the Savorez brand with the Bespoke brand was just going to be monstrous for downtown. And kudos to him, he's been very patient. You know, it took a lot longer than we anticipated to get this spot open, which is usually how it goes. But he's very patient with me throughout the process, and you know, here we are.
I think it's a real good move because I came to Bespoke when it was just coffee, and because of the size of the building, I just had assumed they would have more food options because they've got all this space. What are they doing with all that space?
Right.
It's just a coffee shop.
And
so I came in and the coffee's great, but it's just like, well, I kind of wanted to like sit down and have something besides a pastry to eat. So I think this was probably something that happened a lot, right? They
Absolutely.
were kind of getting that.
Absolutely. No, I mean, you just kind of said it perfectly. You know, I think Chris knew that, and here we are.
Yeah, that's great.
How did you decide on the menu and like how to keep it relatively small so it's a little bit more predictable and probably easier on the staff as well?
It was kind of a trial and error, to be quite honest with you. Really, the menu we had was much smaller than the one we have now.
Oh, really?
And you know, we had ideas, and that's the hard part of this concept, is seeing what actually sells, what doesn't sell. There were one or two things that we tried out in the beginning. It was just so hit or miss.
Like what? Anything
so we were doing originally a crepe burrito.
Oh,
you know, if you really, we wanted to be straightforward here, but Savorez is known for very unique and creative food, and we didn't want to damage that reputation. So we were thinking of different things we could do like that, where you use a crepe as a tortilla and basically do it with a nice sweet filling or savory filling. It's a lot of labor, and some days we sell a ton, some days we didn't, but I said, you know, let's just X-nay this for now. We can always go back to it if we want.
It sounds good to me.
Just trying to meet everybody's dietary needs. I think that's been one of the big challenges here is, you know, when we first, like the first day of being open, a lot of people were asking for vegan options. So that's when we created the vegan burrito. And then once we created vegan, of course, people were like, well, I'm not vegan, I'm just vegetarian. So we have vegetarian options. Of course, the vegetarians, some of those are dairy-free, so we had to create new options for that. And so you want to try to cater to everybody. At the same time, you can't stretch yourself too thin because you don't know if you're going to sell it that day. But once we got the hot items going, we decided cold items were a great way to go. So that's what we have over there now, just some cold, a little bit more lunchy items. Really, they could be breakfast or lunch, but it's meant to be, you know, hey, you come get your coffee and you want lunch for later in the day, we'll go ahead and grab it, and now you know what you've got. And then the pastries was just a natural evolution as well. Pastries and coffee go well together. Why not offer, you know?
Can we go down to some of the menu items and like what's your favorite and maybe like what are crowd favorites after that?
Well, the crowd favorite kind of changes day to day, and that's what's been
Good problem.
A good problem to have, absolutely, but it's difficult to predict. You know, we have our basic bangin' burritos. There's 3 options there. You can get one with chorizo, one with bacon. They all come with egg, cheese, and potatoes.
Nice.
And then we have a veggie with sauteed peppers, onions, and black beans. Some days we're moving bacon out, some days we're moving chorizo out, but I'd say those 2 burritos are our biggest sellers by far. We do have a vegan burrito, which is going to be roasted sweet potatoes, black beans, cilantro, chimichurri, and salsa fresca rolled up.
Yeah, that's like right up our alley.
It's kind of a play on the vegan empanada we do at Savorez. Very, very similar ingredients, just in a burrito form. Really what's been selling a lot lately, it isn't on our hard menu per se, it's more of one of our daily specials, our egg white bites. The way we make our scrambled egg mix, we're generally left over with a lot of egg whites. And so it's a great way for us to utilize what would be food waste. But they're a nice gluten-free option. They're obviously not vegan, but typically vegetarian. So we kind of check off some boxes there.
Yeah.
Those have been selling lately. It's a little bit less costly option, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It could be a lot to come in here, spend $10 on a burrito, $4 or
Yeah.
$5 on coffee every day. So
Yeah.
something a little bit lower price that helps people maintain their budget. Saturdays, really sweets days, when we're selling a ton of our French toast bites, a ton of our pastries. We do a kickin' chicken biscuit, which is a fried chicken biscuit, but we kind of change the preparation on that every day, and you know you're gonna sell a ton of those. So.
Yeah. If people are walking by, so this caught my eye because it's just so open. I love the checkered floor and all. I don't even remember what used to be here, to be completely honest. But then I saw the Bespoke and Savorez teamed up, and I was like, okay, cool. So what can people expect when they come in? Like, what's kind of like the vibe, and is this like made to order, or is it kind of ready to go?
So the whole vibe and concept is it's grab and go. Everything's already made. We do make it fresh every single day, obviously. And basically we'll come in and we stock the case up, and once we start to run out of an item, we'll replenish that case. But it's all about speed and coming in.
Yeah.
There's going to be a friendly face to greet you, very chill vibe. Not too chill to put you back to sleep, obviously. But just being able to come in, grab your food, and go on with your day. If you want to grab a coffee and go to work, go to school, go walk around downtown, or if you want to post up here and work on the Wi-Fi, you know?
Yeah.
So when you were looking at a second location, did you have a breakfast spot in mind?
No.
Or was this, it was an opportunity, you're like, well, I didn't think about that, but that might work out well.
Yeah.
So the breakfast idea was really Chris's, the owner of Bespoke, and he's like, hey, I've got this space and this is what I think would go well there, you know, are you open to that? For me and for us, the breakfast here is kind of the first phase. Obviously, it's our forerunner right now, but we do look, there's so many possibilities here, and that's what I saw. The breakfast is cool, we're happy to be doing it and excited about doing it, but we want to be able to move more merchandise. Savorez has had merchandise for years, but we don't really have anywhere to display it.
Yeah.
So unless you know about it, you don't know about it.
Yeah.
So I saw that this space is a great place to be able to display that, promote it, and actually move it. And then we're excited about just the other options that are there. For example, next week we have one of our wine reps coming in, and she's doing a wine tasting here for her company.
Oh, nice.
For her clients to come in. So it's a great event space, and we're looking forward to utilizing that more.
Okay.
I have to find the right people for it, but eventually I'd like to get late night going here. Because really after COVID, a lot of that died off. It's pretty much impossible to find staff for that these days. But if we could do late night empanadas, you know, Fridays and Saturdays, I think we would crush it. And I think it'd just be a good option for something that's not really around anymore. Eventually, we'd like to get into maybe later hours, doing a little bit more of a lunchy item. But we're also going to use this space for cooking classes, private parties, things like that. And so there's just a ton of opportunity here.
I think now that you're mentioning all that, I feel like we're in the very beginning part of it, and like we'll see it evolve. But you're right, like the space alone can accommodate so much. Like the cooking classes, like she's been asking about that for like a little while. A late night spot, like there's not a lot of late night spots around here.
There really aren't.
Especially like if you want it fast, right? So,
Right.
Well, other than truly fast food, like
like
McDonald's.
Taco Bell.
Yeah.
but
You're not trying to do that if you got this.
Empanadas, it would be great. So.
Exactly. So
Yeah, we'll have to tell Sam at mess hall.
there.
He'll try to get you some staff hooked up for
He
that.
loves your stuff.
Perfect, that'd be great.
One of the questions we like to ask is, why Wilmington? Did you grow up here? Did you come from somewhere else? How'd you end up in Wilmington?
Born and raised. There's not many of us
raised.
left. I'm kind of a
Okay.
unicorn these
There's not
days.
a lot of-
But no, Wilmington's my home. Born and raised here.
Were you born like in Wilmington or on some of the outskirts?
Born in Wilmington.
Wow,
Oh,
that
yeah.
is very rare.
17th Street was where I was
Wow.
brought out, you know.
Okay, and what's kept you here?
My parents were a big part of it. My mother was handicapped my whole life, and my father did an amazing job taking care of her, but that's a burden for any person. And he has his own health issues, so I wanted to stay close in case they needed something. You know, it's my home.
Yeah.
You know, like why would I want to go anywhere else?
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough in life to have traveled around a good bit, and really it comes down to, you know, it's kind of all the same everywhere, really. Roads, people, communities. You know, this is mine. Why would I leave it behind? I get why a lot of people leave. You know, there's tons of opportunity here, and there isn't tons of opportunity here in some aspects. But I'd rather make my own opportunity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What have you seen, like, to you, as someone who's lived here, like, what has changed the most about Wilmington? Obviously, it's growing, but, like...
All the Yankees.
Yeah.
It's growing so much, so fast. You know, for me and my jobs, I pretty much take the same routes every day.
Yeah.
And so you see things pop up here and there, but every now and again I'll have to go out of the way somewhere. It's like, wow, where did that come from?
Yep.
Where did this come from? So it's just growing so much. Like I said, every year it just brings more and more people to town.
Yeah.
So what got you into restaurant industry? Was that something, it was a child you loved or you picked it up? Where did it come from?
Well, so this is a good story. When I was 16 years old, I got arrested. And my father's punishment was very, very simple. He said, Sam, you're grounded till you get a job. Fortunately for me, one of my best friend's fathers was the general manager at Bennigan's. And yeah, that takes you back, right?
Yeah.
And so I walked up there the next day. It was a mile or two down the street from my house. And I said, man, I need a job. And so they got me in doing dishes, and I was off grounding the next day, which is pretty cool. The shortest amount of time I've ever been grounded. But that's when I was 16, and when you're that age, you're in high school, and they're pushing you to find a career and pick what you're going to go for. I was walking around the kitchen one day, and like I said, I fell in love with the lifestyle. You know, I was 16 years old. Now I'm working nights, so I don't have a curfew anymore because I get out of work so late. I actually have some money in my pocket. I get to listen to music, hang out with my friends, eat food. I was getting to meet college girls, which was awesome. And so I remember walking around the kitchen one day like, you know, I could see myself doing this the rest of my life. And, you know, at the time I was a teenager. So, like, it was more about the love of the lifestyle. But as you grow and you take your profession more seriously, I felt really in love with cooking, especially once I'd gotten out of the corporate atmosphere and really got into from-scratch kitchens. And that's when I said, okay, I'm really going to do this. I'm going to be a chef.
Did you go to culinary school or did you just kind of learn on the job?
I did go to culinary school. I graduated from the program at Cape Fear Community College back in 2013, I believe.
So you talked about, like, a southern spin on Latin cuisine. Like, when did that idea pop in your head? Like, I think this is something Wilmington needs. And, like, why Latin food? Especially being from the South.
I was working for the K38 company.
Yeah.
Let's go back further than that.
Yeah.
I was working for the Dockside company down on Airlie Road, and that's really where I fell in love with cooking seafood. Dockside has all the permits necessary for fishermen to come straight to Dockside and sell it directly to them. And so that was cool, getting to break down whole fish and fillets and then come up with specials there. And after Dockside, I went to work for the K38 restaurant group. That was my first introduction to Latin cooking in a sense. Now, they're more of a Tex-Mex restaurant, but it's still from scratch, still authentic in some concepts. And so I got to see how fresh and vibrant and colorful food could be. After the K38 company, I went to work for Ceviche's, and it was their first time being in the restaurant industry at all. It was my first time being executive chef, and they wanted this traditional Panamanian menu, right? So I hit the books, I hit the internet, I was doing research, and there's really no such thing as traditional Panamanian cuisine. It's not Panama's very much a melting pot. It's not a strong traditional cuisine like Mexico or Peru or Chile or Brazil even. And so I had to convince the owners of that first, but once I did that, it just opened up the possibilities because in Panama, like I said, you can find French food, you can find American food, you can find Asian food, you can find Latin and Hispanic food. And like I said, it all kind of melds together. What really kept it going for me was if you look at North Carolina and what we produce agriculturally and as well as our seafood options, a lot of those ingredients are staple ingredients in Latin and Hispanic cooking. Back at that time, that's when the farm to table movement was really catching foot and everybody was about local suppliers, local ingredients, yada, yada, yada. And some really wonderful food was coming out. But what happened was everybody kind of brought back Southern cooking. Everybody busted out their grandma's recipe books. My grandmother's heirloom tomato pie is better than your grandmother's heirloom tomato pie, and I'm sure you feel the same way, you know? But everybody's food, I'm not knocking it in any shape, way, or form, kind of looked the same. You'd see a dish and you'd wonder which restaurant this came from.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to make sure when you saw my food, you knew exactly where it came from. And so that's really where the Latin fusion came about, was taking these great ingredients that we produce here, but just doing it in a different method that you're not going to find anywhere else. I really want, especially when you go to Savorez, it's a very unique experience, and that's what I wanted.
I think your mission has been accomplished because usually when people think of Latin food downtown, if you want something other than like a taco joint, then Savorez, everybody's like, oh, Savorez.
Absolutely,
Place,
absolutely. We try to emphasize so much of Savorez that we're not traditional, we're not authentic. I'm born and raised in Wilmington. It's just inspired by it, you know, and doing something fun and funky and original.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the menu before we get ready to wrap up? So we talked about the egg bites, the French toast sticks, the burritos. What else you got at right here at this location?
Right here at this location, so we do have an avocado toast. I thought that was kind of necessary.
Yeah, we had it.
It was good.
And so that's going to be with our goat cheese guacamole. At Ceviche's is where I had the goat cheese guacamole. When I went to Savorez, we changed it into the sweet potato goat cheese guacamole. So I kind of went a little bit back on my roots, but that's going to be with candied bacon, balsamic pearls, shaved radish, some fresh herbs, and strawberries. We always do a lot of specials, and that's because we're grab and go. It lets us just have fun every day and say, okay, what do we have, basically? So those change daily. In the cold case, one of our big sellers has been the coconut parfait. It's vegan, it's gluten-free, so we check all those boxes. But we basically make a vegan coconut custard, and we layer that with a quinoa and chocolate granola, fresh fruit and herbs on top. My personal favorite is the kickin' chicken wrap, which is going to be fried chicken and our chipotle vinaigrette with our goat cheese guacamole, black beans, salsa fresca, and pickled onions. One of the questions I always get asked is, what is your favorite food, Sam? And they think it's going to be some crazy, unique item. My favorite food's fried chicken. And to take it a step further, it would be buffalo chicken. And ironically enough, in my entire career as a chef, I've never really I'm not going to serve chicken wings per se, although we have done that, some nice fresh chicken wings. But to finally have my own chicken wrap on the buffalo chicken wrap on the menu is kind of cool, man. I'm really happy on that one. But we do have a power bowl in there, which is going to be citrus herb quinoa, grilled sweet potatoes, blueberry salsa, fresh arugula, oven-dried tomatoes with chipotle vinaigrette, meant to be kind of a grab-and-go salad. And then we have BLTs in there, which are pretty straightforward.
So, one of our last questions we always ask, just like we asked Sam at Mess Hall, your namesake, big fan, where are some other places that you like to go in Wilmington?
That's always a tough question. It really depends what you're trying to do, you know. If I'm going to go out for breakfast, I'm going to go see my friend Josh Petty at Cast Iron Kitchen. For lunch, Flamin' Amy's has been a staple in Wilmington for so long. Their fried chicken burrito is a cure for my migraines. I'm not kidding you.
Oh, wow.
For dinner, Keith Rhodes at Catch is always solid, always wonderful. Right now, I've been trying just to try out all the new places. You know, it's kind of hard to keep up these days. But in terms of go-to favorites, like I said, Catch is always one of them. Honestly, I don't get to go out to eat very much, you know what I mean?
Not.
No, that's why we're like, when you've had a long day, it's like, where are you definitely going? Like, because you guys have long, unpredictable hours. So
Right,
it's like,
right.
You need to know where you want to go because you're not trying to drive around for 40 minutes thinking of what to eat.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a ton of great restaurants in town. Circa 21 is always a good one right down in Front and Market. I really like Cheese Smith. I went there for the first time ever for lunch the other day, and that was really nice.
I think they're opening another location as well. Like,
oh, really?
We were going to talk to them. They were in the middle of I think they were doing another location or maybe another restaurant under the same umbrella. But
Good
yeah,
for
I mean,
them.
like that's a new one as well. It caught my eye. We went there. My daughters loved it. They had Brussels sprouts, stuff like that. It was good. There's not a lot of grilled cheese places around.
Right. So, but you know, if I had to summarize, I'd say Cast Iron for breakfast, Flamin' Amy's for lunch, and Catch for dinner.
Awesome. And I guess we forgot to ask, like, where are we physically right now so people know where to come and what are the hours?
So it's 204 Princess Street. Bespoke's technically 202 Princess Street, even though we're in the same building. Our hours right now are Tuesday through Saturday. We open at 7 a.m. We go till about 11 or 12, maybe even 1. It really all depends on how business is going. If we're cranking, we're going to keep going. If it's died off, then we're going to close it down a little bit early. So get in early to see us is your best bet.
Yep. Where do you want people to follow you? Are you guys on Instagram and Facebook? How can we follow you and keep up?
We are on Instagram. Let me pull the phone out. We just got our Instagram set up. Anytime I open a restaurant, we try to fly under the radar for the first few months just so we can work out the kinks internally. A lot of people like to promote it, and then you get slammed on opening day and you crash. You know what I mean? So this summer, you know, owning a restaurant has its own challenges, and owning two is even more challenging. So this summer we really didn't do a whole lot of promotion. We kind of just let word of mouth spread it, and it slowly bumped it. But we do have Instagram now.
Yeah.
It's Baby Savorez.
Baby Savorez.
Baby
All right.
Savorez. Find us on Instagram.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for allowing us to come in here, and we're gonna enjoy some food right after this. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.